Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berks County. I am the Reverend John Cullinan, your minister here. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm so glad you could be with us here today. As Unitarian Universalists, we come together not with a list of required beliefs, but with a set of shared values that are centered on an unconditional and unshakable love. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are at this moment, here in the sanctuary or watching from home, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome to be a part of this community. As we are gathering, I want to extend a special welcome to anyone visiting with us or first-time guests here this morning. If you haven't already, please take a moment to fill out one of our green visitors cards in the foyer over at the greeters table. And then please join us after the service for some coffee and conversation during fellowship time over here in the Gerber Room. Those joining online, please take a minute to write your name in the chat box and where you are joining us from. You'll find the UU Berks Church web address in the chat box and a link to today's order of service, and you can sign up for our weekly email newsletter. For new families here today and our youngest members, there are a few options for being present in worship this morning. There is our children's space over in the back of the sanctuary where Miss Erin is there to help you out and play and check you in. Or you may make use for our youngest members, the nursery, which is just through those doors and across the hall, and there is audio of the service still available for you in there. Or you may sit with your parents and enjoy the service like the adults do. Now, this morning's service is a little different. This is what we call a question box sermon. This is the box. And you all should have received, when you came in, an index card of varying colors. The colors don't mean anything but what you ascribe to them. There's no hierarchy or ranking or anything with those. Take a moment to think about a question you would like to ask your minister this morning. From the serious to the silly. If you want to play Stump the Minister this morning, go ahead and do that as well. Right between the story time and offertory, I'm going to come around with a box and collect all of your questions. Friends online, if you've got questions to ask today, please put them into the chat box during that offertory time when I'm collecting the questions, so I can kind of have them all in one viewable screen in the chat as well. And then while we have our offertory and our anthem, I'm vamping for time to take a look through the questions and put them in some kind of a thematic order or something. I'm going to answer as many as I can in about 15 to 20 minutes. I may not get to them all. If I don't get to them, fear not. I keep every question that I've ever received in any of these question boxes I've ever done throughout my ministry, and they might show up in a sermon later if that's something really teases me there. So take some time, think about a question you want to ask. Try to keep it to one question because we've got many people here today. And now let's take a moment to center ourselves. Close your eyes, friends. Feel yourself grounded where you sit. Take a deep breath in and out. And let us begin. Our chalice reading this morning comes from Amy McKenzie. This is the time for you to light your chalice at home while we light ours here in the sanctuary. Welcome to this common sacred space. Common because we are all welcome. Sacred because here we transform the ordinary and attend to the profound. We carry with us our regrets, doubts, fears, stories, laughter. May they inspire our worship. Above all, may we each meet what we need most to find on this day, in this common sacred space. Please rise in body or spirit and join in our opening hymn, number 126, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing.
Come thou fount of every blessing, tune our hearts to sing thy praise. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. While the hope of life's perfection fills our hearts with joy and love, teach us never to be faithful, may we still thy goodness prove. Come thou fount of every vision, lift our eyes to what may come. See the lion and the young lamb dwell together in thy home. Hear the cries of war fall silent, feel our love glow like the sun. When we all serve one another, then our heaven is begun. Come thou fount of inspiration, turn our lives to higher ways. Lift our gloom and desperation, show the promise of this day. Help us bind ourselves in union, help our hands tell of our love. With thine aid, O fount of justice, earth be fair as heaven above.
Oh, the gremlins are working today. This is our time for all ages this morning. Friends, the world is upside down and inside out and topsy-turvy, and we don't know where we're going anymore, maybe. We may be feeling overwhelmed by all of the competing currents in the atmosphere. Up is down, left is right, west is east, and we start to wonder, does anything matter anymore? Does anything make sense anymore? Do my values mean anything anymore? Do I mean anything anymore? There's just too much. I'm overwhelmed. Maybe it's time for me to just give up. Maybe I should just give in and let the currents carry me adrift out to sea, wherever they may take me. I know a lot of us are feeling that way, but friends, I am here to tell you today, have no fear. You do not need to be set adrift. There is a way out, and that's because I bring you today Reverend John's patent-pending spiritual emergency kit. Everything you need to get recentered and back on track and feel like your life has meaning and that you can do something in this world. Your hard hat. Got to start with the personal protection equipment, friends. There's a lot of danger out there. You've got to do what you can immediately to prevent the immediate harm, the things that are hurting you right away. Turn off Facebook. I've deleted it from everything last week. Don't go look at the news for a little while. Don't turn on the TV. Just break yourself away from the things that are immediately carving at your soul and making you feel all staticky and fuzzy. End that conversation with your uncle at Thanksgiving, the one that's going to drive you crazy. Don't cut him off for good. Just having that talk right now, just to, extricate yourself from that. And if that is not enough, did he put things in an order? No, he did not. Yes. Just for a little extra personal protection, get your earplugs. Get those going. Tune out all of the voices that are telling you you don't matter, that your values don't matter, that none of it makes sense, that you're just being silly and foolish and an optimist, and that they are the problem and that you shouldn't care then. Block all that out for a little while. Don't tune it out forever. Just close things down for a little bit. And then once you've taken care of the immediate harmful needs, once you've blocked out the noises that are telling you lies, turn back to the core values that mean something to you. Recenter with some good words that inspire you, with some sayings from the world religion. This is my book, The Soul's Almanac, which is a year-long reader of world religions. That's just an example. Reconnect with the sources that lead to your values and the ways that you believe. And then once you've reconnected to those values, reconnect to yourself for a little while. Take a good look at yourself and remember who you are, not for vanity, not for ego, but to gaze deeply into the mirror and reconnect with that spark that sits right at your heart, the one that makes you who you truly are in those moments. Remember what you value and who you are. And then once you've got that center back, once you've blocked out the noise and reconnected with who you are and what your values are, don't forget snacks, friends. I live off of these. Take care of your bodies. Eat good food or slightly less good food. Rest. Go out and take a walk. Remember to take your meds while you're at it. Do the things you need to do to get your physical campus in order, because your spirit needs your body to do the things. And when you've taken care of your body and when you've reconnected with your values, remember that you can't do it alone. You got to call out to the friends and family, folks, the people that mean the most to you, the people who you love dearly, the ones who share your values, who will lift you up when you're feeling down. You don't have to solve this puzzle all by yourself. There are plenty of people out there ready to sit down at the table and find all the pieces together. And then once you have reconnected with yourself and your values and your body and your friends, give a hand. Do something. When you're overwhelmed and you do not know what to do next, when when it all seems too much, choose to care about one thing. You don't have to fix it all alone. Pick the thing that is most in your heart in the moment, and then do one thing about it. Don't solve it in one fell swoop. That is impossible. But do to your mind and your heart what the next small, smart thing in that moment is going to be. Care about one thing. Do one thing towards caring about it. And soon enough, one thing leads to another, as they so often do. And maybe those people you reached out to with a tin can phone join you and start to do a little bit with their hands as well. And then finally, you've reconnected with everything that matters. You've reconnected with the people who share what you believe and who share the work you want to do. Once you've done all that, don't forget to break out your emergency clown nose. Because friends, joy is fuel. Joy makes everything easier. It's the lubrication for the machine of the work of justice and resistance. Do it with whatever joy you can muster. Dance, play, laugh, make a joke. Make a joke about the evil people in the world, because my God, they hate being the butt of a joke. Talk about resistance. What I'm saying, friends, is breathe. Do not let the infinite problems of the world drag you under with the undertow. Break from the noise. Reconnect with the things that matter. Care about one thing in the moment and do one thing towards it. And do it with some joy. I'll let you know when these are on sale. Let us open our minds and our hearts to the microphone. How about now? Yes, okay. Let us open our minds and our hearts to the spirit of this community. Take this moment to call to mind all who are in need of our kindness, our caring, and our love. Consider if there is someone in your life this week, even if that someone is yourself, who needs our support and the help of this circle of care and concern. We take this time to honor those souls. Those who are online may share their joys and sorrows in the chat box, and those on site are invited to come forward and place their stones in our common bowl in sympathy or celebration or solidarity. Let us sing now together Spirit of Life, first in Spanish, then in English. Friends, if you are in need of some pastoral care, if it's more than just dropping a stone in a bowl, please be in touch with one of the members of our caring circle here or talk to me directly if you need to make an appointment. And if you don't want to talk to somebody in person just yet, we do have our white connection cards just outside the table of foyer here. Fill one of those out and drop it in the box, and we will get in touch with you during the week. For all our joys and all our sorrows, whether we share them with one another or we hold them close to our hearts, let us be together now in a spirit of prayer and reflection. Beloved Spirit of life, gracious source of all love, we come together this morning grateful for this time out of time, which we have set apart so that we might become more fully present to our own selves, to each other, to our communities, to that which we call holy. May our joys be celebrated together, our wounds be healed together, our hearts be opened together. May our opened hearts lead us to see beyond difference and disagreement, so that we might begin to see one another as we are, see the fullness of one another's humanity. May our hearts open beyond these walls, beyond this circle of care and concern, that we might come to acknowledge the fullness of all humanity, the reality of those we cannot see. May our hearts be open so fully this day that the whole world might fall in. And we come to realize at last that we all come from the same source, that we all share the same destiny, that the fate of all people is truly bound together. May the open heart we find here go with us throughout the week to come, until we can be in the presence of one another again. All this we pray in the names of those known and unknown, present and absent, remembered and forgotten, in the names of the helpers of all humankind. Amen. Blessed be. So this is the moment, friends, before we start our offering this morning. It's time to gather your questions. Friends online, if you could start putting those in the chat box for me right now. I'm going to come around, and then we'll come around with the other baskets. As a community of faith, we share what we can with one another. We offer ourselves through the ministries of this church by giving to and receiving from one another. One of those gifts is our financial resources. Your generosity makes it possible for us to live out our principles and our values in our church and beyond our doors, keeping hope and courage and forgiveness and compassion alive. You may make a financial contribution online, through the Giving app, or through the baskets as they pass you by in the sanctuary this morning. This is the time to share what you can. May what you give bring you joy and into deeper relationship with this community. let's start with a softball here. Did you ever have short hair? Before the pandemic, yes, I had the same good Catholic boy hairdo from the age of like 5 on. So yes, there are photos out there. How can we do better at including new folks into our activities or groups, et cetera, et cetera? There's multiple steps here. The first, we got to get a lot louder about being here and who we are and letting the community know that we're here. UUs are allergic to evangelizing in general, and that word makes us all go a little, but that's part of the secret, is talking to folks about your values, talking to folks about what kind of meaning you derive from being in a community like this, what kind of meaning you derive from participating in various groups, classes, activities here, what it brings out in you, how it helps you through life. And then make an invitation. We could spend thousands and thousands on advertising campaigns and Facebook ads and what have you, and some of that is effective, but a study a while back shows that about 83% or so, I think that's the number, of people who come to a church for the first time came because a friend invited them to come with them. And then the second part is being really intentional about how we receive new people as they come into our fold. Letting go of our expectations of any one person outside of, we hope you share the values that we profess here and that you'll work with us on them. Let go of any preconceptions we might have about who a good UU is, and we all have them somewhere in the back of our head, and most of them are piddly and wrong. So, letting a person arrive as they are, letting ourselves be as they are, being surprised by what happens when the interaction comes between that meeting, and making room for the diversity and the difference and the beauty of diverse beliefs and ways of seeing the world and connecting and worshiping, as long as it is all centered on that unconditional, unshakable love. And that goes a long way to helping people feel at home here and to feel a part of it. What would you have done in your wildest dreams if your path had not led you to ministry? I used to joke if I wasn't a minister, I'd be David Bowie, but that is definitely a pipe dream. I would have been, and if fate had worked out a little differently and I had been a little more bold in my youth, I would be a theater director right now. And I still occasionally dip my hand into that. Looking for a specific one and I've lost track of it. These two are of a piece, and so I'm going to blend them together. Someone asks, how do you find the inherent dignity and worth in the worst of the worst? And this one is more of a statement than a question, but connects into it. As a lifelong UU, even as a child, I've been bothered by the randomness of evil, illness, and other disasters' effects on real, good, or not so good humans and other life. And as a result, I have not had a firm belief in the goodness or the love of the universe, but rather that the truth, the universe doesn't give a damn, and it falls upon us, sadly, to work and struggle against it. These definitely go together. First up, how do you find the inherent dignity and worth in the worst of the worst? If someone will remind me after the service or send me an email, I'm going to reference an address, a lecture given by the Reverend Bill Schultz about 20 years ago. He was, for a time, the leader of our Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, and before that, he was a director of Amnesty International. And he gave a talk called What Torture Has Taught Me. And he addresses this very question, and he addresses it very neatly and profoundly at the same time, and it boils down to this. There is only so much worth and dignity a person has as we choose to assign to them. Their worth and dignity, inherent as it may be, is so easily abdicated by the choices they make. And for somebody to actually have worth in this world, we need to continue to see it in them, even in their worst moments, because that's how we continue to see it in ourselves, and that's how we continue to understand ourselves as having still inherent worth and dignity. It comes down to how we choose to see others, to assign them a sense of dignity despite the evidence at hand, to assign them a sense of worth despite the evidence at hand, because our own worth and our own dignity is going to be tied up intimately with the choices we might make related to those people. And we might abdicate our own worth and dignity in the process if we can't see it in others. And so I think I can apply this to the sense of not being able to find the love in the universe. And I talk about a universal love, and I talk about love at the center of all things. And I talk about the great heart at the center of all things as kind of my God image out there. And again, that love, that mercy, that comes out of choices we make. It's been said, we are the universe's attempt to know itself, and I think in the same regard, we are the universe's attempt to be that unconditional, unshakable love. Despite the evidence at hand, despite the randomness of the universe and illness and disaster and disease and evil and all of that. And in hand with Bill Schultz's talk about worth and dignity as a choice that we make to assign to other people, one of my other favorite theologians is Nick Cave, of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. And in a blog post, he was answering a fan's question. I forget how long ago it was. Someone asked, how do you deal with that? How do you continue to get up in the morning and love and see life as worth living? And the quick summary of his answer, and one that has stuck with me for years now, is just this. The art of being human and the art of living on is the ability to look into the chaos, to look into the randomness of the universe, to look into everything that just doesn't make sense, and acknowledge the fact that the universe, in its randomness and its chaos, doesn't really care about us, and choose to love it anyway. Again, it's our choice. It's our choice about how we are responding to the chaos. Dignity, love, worth, it all comes down to what we choose to gift others. I'm not watching the clock. Are you okay if we run a little long today? I'm supposed to have a meeting after this, but we've got some good stuff up here. What happens if ICE comes into our church? Yeah. The sad truth is I don't have a good answer for that right now. We spent a lot of time last fall learning about for ourselves what was legal and what wasn't legal, and what a judicial warrant looks like and what an executive warrant looks like, and how to tell the difference, and what we didn't have to comply with and what we did have to comply with, and when they could come in here as a public space and when the space was private. And the fact of the matter is, after all that time and energy and work, apparently none of that matters right now. We don't have the protections of the law we thought we might have at the moment. And so we're in the middle of a hard pivot right now. And thankfully there are people in the community who are talking about ways to deal with that. And we've had some of our friends, I think, here go to some trainings just this past week with Make the Road, and there's going to be more about the realities of ICE and what they're doing right now and how we respond. We're going to share information about when those happen. I recommend going to them if at all possible. I'm hopefully going to the next one myself. But that's my unsettling answer this morning, friends, is we don't know, which is often an answer to every question. And along those same lines, because we're living in a time when the rules don't matter anymore, if the policy on political comments by ministers is changed, how will it affect the different denominations? Some already do it. And also, will you be making endorsements now? Haha. Short answer, no. Slightly longer answer, to quote Admiral Akbar, it's a trap. And here's what I mean. The Johnson Amendment, the piece of the nonprofit law that puts the restrictions on nonprofits, including churches, from making any kind of partisan candidate or party endorsements, is still the law of the land. And that can only be changed by Congress. So what the IRS has been done in the last couple of months is ask courts to make an official acknowledgement about how the people currently running it are choosing to enforce that law. Which is to say, they are making an official policy, hoping for the courts to acknowledge that they are going to enforce the Johnson Amendment selectively, which is already kind of how they've been doing it over the years. The IRS in the past just doesn't want to be bothered having to investigate churches who have been doing this, unfortunately, so there hasn't been a lot of consequence until now. But if they're saying right now that the policy is they're going to be selective about how they go after churches that do or do not make partisan statements from the pulpit, I have this funny feeling, and I think you probably feel it too, that we are not going to be one of the select here. We are not going to be, for example, endorsing Dear Leader by name anytime soon. And if we were to say it out loud, I think it puts a target on our backs. And we're a small church in a smaller city. But there are people paying attention, and it's far too risky to make that change. But even if that wasn't the truth, even if they weren't making a change to even if they were to make a change to the rule, even if Congress were to abolish the Johnson Amendment, even if it became legal to say what you will from the pulpit about parties and candidates, the way we value democracy in this faith, I think, precludes us from doing just that. It is not the role of the churches to endorse people or party. It is the role of the churches to delve into the issues, to delve into the ways of the world and the policies and how they mesh or do not mesh with our values, and to speak to that all day long. And sometimes some of that may come across as politics. Because often when we talk about the issues, because they so neatly or at least artificially fall into camps of one side or the other, if we talk about them, it sounds like we're endorsing a party or another. And to the extent that politics is the art of building a community outside, taking into account all of our differences and making the best community we can, that kind of talk is political. But often when we talk about things being too political in a church, what we're talking about is things being too partisan. And for me, that is a line I will not cross. We'll stick to the issues and the values that matter to us. What do you do when you have writer's block? Kind of stare dumbly at the walls like I'm doing right now. I wrote a short story about this a couple of years ago, which is actually how, but you know, when I have writer's block, I blame the muse for not showing up, which is typically when the muse shows up to remind me that she doesn't exist in the first place. The story was in me the whole time, that, you know, the muse exists in a quantum state. She only exists when I think I need her, which is never. It's a lot of mental gymnastics, friends. That's how I deal with that. Black Sabbath or Blizzard of Oz? That's a false choice, friends. We embrace the whole catalog of Ozzy Osbourne here. I've had this question online and here in the sanctuary as well. What's your favorite instrument? Do you play an instrument? Yes and no. I took up the banjo right around the start of the pandemic. I am phenomenally inconsistent in my practice regimen with that instrument. I also love stringed instruments in general. I own many of them. I play maybe one half of one, if that's, they're more aspirational than practical at this point, but I do dream of doing that someday. Someone also asks on here, what's your favorite musical? It shifts with the winds and my moods, but right now the one that speaks to me the most and I listen to on repeat is Hadestown. Hadestown. Who's doing it? Oh, excellent, okay. Yoakum Youth Theater is doing the youth version of Hadestown this year. That'll be fascinating. One quick one here, and I think it's very important. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? 10 to the 12th power chords. Personally, do you see yourself as a theist, atheist, humanist, none of the above, all of the above? How do I label this? I'm a necessitarian. 15 years ago or so, I came to the conclusion that the question of whether or not God exists is not the correct question. Whether or not God exists does not matter to me so much as whether or not some sort of all-encompassing, loving God is necessary to the moment at hand. Is it necessary to help someone along and stay focused? So, is God necessary? Is the question that I always ask myself, and that answer changes from moment to moment depending on what's going on in the world. Though for most of the time, for me, the answer is yes, with an understanding that that God has no tangible, knowable substance. It is that great heart at the center of the universe. It is that sense of all-encompassing, unconditional love that I need to look to, that I need to be able to point to and hang on to as a touchstone and a talisman to keep doing the work that I'm doing. I'm going to close on this one. What is your favorite memory from working at UU Berks? This last year has been a huge blur, friend. I spent 4 months technically homeless at the start of it, so that not necessarily a favorite memory. But I've got to say right now, as I'm thinking about it in the moment, it was the installation service back in March, just to see everybody here and really feel that joy and that love and the depth of connection and responsibility that I felt in that moment, making promises and looking at you all. It's hefty and it's joyous, and I love it. And I thank you for your questions this morning. There's a lot more here. Maybe they'll show up in a sermon, but thank you. Remain seated for the moment. No, you guys can stand up because you get to sing. Please join in our meditative hymn, number 1013, Open My Heart.
So this is a round, but we'll sing it through twice, and then we'll do it as a round 2 or 3 times until Dan stops. 10:13. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love.
And before we close, important announcements and upcoming events can be found on the back page of your order of service here, in our weekly email newsletter, on our website, and our Facebook page. But just one to highlight this week. August 24th, Sunday the 24th, will be our annual all-church picnic. Information for that is in the Univoice. You can get to that online or check your email if you're subscribing to that. There is a link to sign up for bringing food and various things on there, so take a look and get your information there. We will have the service in the morning here first this year. We thought it was important to keep the doors open during these times, especially for anybody who is finding their way in through them and needs us that week. We want to be here for them, and then we'll move up to the picnic grounds afterwards. Friends, would you all please rise in body or spirit one more time and join in our closing hymn, number 1054.
Going to sing one verse this time. Let this be a house of peace, of nature and humanity, of sorrow and elation. Let this be our house, a haven for the healing, an open room for question and our inspiration. Let this be our house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be our house of peace.
Friends, may life bless us and keep us. May the light of life shine upon us and out from within us and be gracious to us and bring us peace. For this is the day. This is the one wild and precious life we have all been given. So let us all find a way to rejoice and be glad in it. Go in peace.